And welcome to the program. Alma Garcia is our guest on the telecast at this particular moment. Now, Alma, welcome to the show. You're with Educate Texas. You're a program officer. What does that mean, and what is Educate Texas?
Well, as a matter of fact, and thank you so much for having me here today, Educate Texas is a private-public initiative of Communities Foundations of Texas. Wow. And what we are is that we serve as an intermediary in working with various school districts and institutions of higher ed all over the state of Texas. And our main focus is to bring people, I call them people of authority. These are people like legislators, superintendents, presidents of universities and colleges, to start talking about doing systemic changes in education, the way that we do educational business in the state of Texas.
Wow.
We are known for innovation. We're known for bringing partners together to talk. And lastly, and this is what we're working on right now, is about taking those proven practices, the evidence, the data, and taking all of that to scale. We want to replicate all of the wonderful things that are happening in our great state of Texas.
Well, obviously you have come to the right place, back to the right place, because you're one of the founding mothers, I suppose would be the proper word to say, of what has happened here at Far Sam and Alamo, which is extraordinary, it's transformational, and now it's cookie cuttered and going all around the nation. And what's that all about, and what does that mean? Is it strictly because we have so many minority students and so many low-income students that have now become the majority, and they're not getting the education they need in order to get a graduation diploma in high school and then transition to college, and this is doing that?
Right. Well, to continue the journey of early college high schools, in 2004, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation out of Seattle was trying to start an initiative whereas they were wanting to invest a substantial amount of funding to build, to design these innovative high schools where students of color, students that were at risk, they were low income or disadvantaged students would have an opportunity that if there was support systems in place in these high schools, if they were smaller and more personalized, if the teachers had high quality credentials and they had professional staff development and training, that these students, no matter what background they would come from, they would be able to prosper and they would be able to go to college. Well, it was a dream. It was an opportunity for Texas now to get on the national bandwagon of sorts to start building and designing these innovative high schools. Communities Foundations of Texas, formerly back then it was under the umbrella of Communities Foundations of Texas in Dallas, the Texas High School Project was born. And it was a partnership between Communities Foundations of Texas and the Texas Education Agency. But it did start up with private funders investing in education. Now this is 2004. It's real funny because when I went to the interview for this position that I have now, the gentleman that interviewed me, a wonderful man, Phil Montgomery, says to me, Ms. Garcia, can you tell me a little bit about early college high schools? And I said, sir, I don't know a thing about early college high schools. And he says to me, well, you know what, let's move on. I don't either. But the point here is that there was no early college high schools in Texas in 2004.
10 years ago.
10 years ago, there was not one early college high school in Texas. There was middle school colleges, and these were high schools that had a college theme or a college prep, but then again, there was certain criteria for those students to go to those schools, and those were kids that were top 5 in their high schools, but never for low-income, first-generation, at-risk students. So you're looking at the organization, Educate Texas, that started the innovative movement in partnership with the Jobs for the Future out of Boston that was working at the national level. But we took a lot of the lessons learned from champions in the work. And you know, I know you're going to ask me about Dr. Daniel King, Superintendent of Far Sam and Alamo, and those were that's one of the champions of the work that we're doing right now. But 2004 to date, right now, we have 108 early college high schools in Texas.
Wow, phenomenal. So the Dr. King transformational earthquake that you've been involved with, give the audience, if you would, just a little bit of an understanding about how that happened, how it's evolved up to today.
Well, as I started this conversation, that early college high schools are small, autonomous schools where students have a personal relationship with their teachers and their principal. And
Like the 1950s, maybe.
well, that's right. The situation that we found out, though, is that it was being very restrictive because it was a cohort of 100 students, and it was an add-on cohort every year. So eventually, in a school district, you would touch 400 students at the end of 4 years. So Dr. King tells us, well, how is that going to help me when I have 1,000 seniors? How is that going to help San Antonio when they have, 4,000, 5,000 seniors, or Dallas where they have a lot more seniors that we need to ramp up quickly to prepare them to go to college? So our work with Dr. King started when he was in Hidalgo as a superintendent. And he came to me and he said, Alma, he says, I will do early college high schools, but it's got to be for 100% of my kids. And if not, let's think about how we can do that. Well, we made an exception. And in Hidalgo, he had 800 students, grades 9 through 12. And what we did is we converted the whole high school into an early college high school. A comprehensive high school became an early college high school. We petitioned the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the Texas Education Agency, and it came to be. Fast forward, we found out that we couldn't just do 800 students, he says. We had to do it larger. 2 years later, he ends up going to Farson Juan Alamo, and now he's working with early college high schools with 32,000 students, of which probably approximately, I would say about 4,000 high school, a little bit more, I really don't know that number. But can you imagine, that's what he wanted to do, was to ramp it up. And now every high school in Farson Juan Alamo is designated by the state of Texas through the Education Agency as an early college high school.
And the results have been last year.
Well, as a matter of fact, right now, it's not so much about graduating them with an associate's degree, it's about hooking them and making sure that 100% of the students graduate at least with some college hours. The presentation he did this morning is indicating...
Because they got their hook in the water and they've already been hooked and they're going to do it. They're going to transition, aren't they?
That's correct. The language, the culture of the school has been transformed. The teachers are being trained. The community, there's a campaign in the community to make sure that everyone in the Farson Juan Alamo school communities understand the vision and mission. It's about college for all students, no matter what their background is. So the results are being very, very successful. They're being very positive. There's trends that we're looking at. There's different support systems that have to be in place. And we found out very early that there has to be a partnership between higher ed and the school systems here in the Valley. And I think Dr. King will concur with me that it's this partnership through private and public that are coming together to be successful in the community.
And in PSJ's circumstance, it's South Texas College that has partnered up with them to make that transition so fluid with that collaboration between public ed and higher ed.
That's correct. And as a matter of fact, South Texas College right now is kind of the demonstration college where people come and learn and they interview different champions of the work because they want to go back to their school communities to replicate everything that's happening in higher education. But at the same time, they come and visit Farson Juan Alamo to see what's happening in classrooms in the high school setting. And Ron, one more thing that we found out in those 10 years, that going to college and talking about college can't happen in high school. It's got to delve all the way down to elementary. And that's the other focus. When you talk to Dr. King, he says it's college for all, meaning pre-kinder all the way through high school and beyond.
When Dr. King came to Farson Juan Alamo Independent School District, the dropout rate for people and children and students who did not graduate from high school was twice the state average. Now it's 1/2 of the state average. This conversation will continue, so stay tuned. Welcome back to the conversation with Alma Garcia from Educate Texas. Now, Alma, PSJ had twice the state average in dropouts not getting their high school diploma, and today they're 1/2 of the state dropout rate in only 8 years.
Well, let me tell you, at the beginning, what happened is that there was a new superintendent coming into a school district that had its challenges academically. There was other challenges that was keeping from the momentum of success to accelerate as fast as it wanted to. Now, Dr. King will tell you the story, even from the beginning, that he had to build a culture. You know, the school district was considered in a national level as a dropout factory, where students were not coming to school. There was discomfort in the sense that teachers did not understand why kids didn't want to come to school. There was a lot of good effort, good people working, and yet there were students that were dropping out of school. So Dr. King will also share with you, and we noticed it. We've been working with Dr. King for over 10 years, that there was 3 components that I can really talk to. The first one was that there had to be an awareness campaign. An awareness that expectations need to be higher, an awareness that we're about all students. It's not about just some students, it's about all students going to college. And that awareness became a community campaign. Anywhere and everywhere, teachers were trained to say that message, students were trained to say that message, cafeteria ladies and bus drivers. You would think that he would go all over the community to make sure that there was an awareness that, you know, not only the new sheriff in town, but the new messaging in town was college for all. The second thing is that there was misalignment in maybe curriculum, misalignment in professional development and training, misalignment in how to contact parents and get them more engaged and involved with the work. There was misalignment in starting to talk with partners about what were the expectations, because there was just such a big range of challenges and obstacles. So he started to align all of that. So where do we want to go with teacher
Misalignment
training?
being lack of communication, lack of cohesion, I think.
Correct, and sometimes it wasn't just the communication. There was not one voice, there was not one story. It was a lot of stories about one thing.
Nobody knew where the ship was going.
Well, in essence, the ship was there and it was sailing, but where it was going.
The Titanic had hit the iceberg.
Well, I don't know about that, but the good thing is that the alignment
When you've got a
started.
superintendent that's been indicted and the entire school board's been indicted, it's a pretty big disaster.
Well, and you know that you have to have good leadership in any school district, and I think that's what the breath of fresh air came in with Dr. King, in that, you know, he came in with a vision and mission, and he needed help. He needed the people quickly in his school district to jump on board and to understand what needed to get done. So the
So
alignment.
Educate Texas became the partnership that he needed, along with South Texas College at the time.
Correct. As a matter of fact, our organization tried to help him with that messaging, tried to help him with that alignment. And the third thing, it wasn't about working harder, it was about working smarter. And the smart work that was being done is, the question came up was, is it working? I mean, we can work smart and hard, but if it's not working, then we're not really having any success. So the third thing that Dr. King noticed is that he had to measure the impact of the work that he was doing. So you've got an awareness campaign, you have an alignment of all of the different components of a positive and successful school district, and then he was measuring the work that they were doing. And he's a very good person. I call him the king of data, no pun intended. But he uses data to make decisions, to drive change, to partner up with people, to talk to partners in higher education. And that's what we do. Educate Texas becomes his partner in those messaging, the alignment, and measuring that impact.
And who are your partners? I understand that you have grants and you have received other kind of participants in your PPI. You have a private-public partnership.
Correct.
So you work with state agencies, you work with international agencies. So who are these people that you're working with on an everyday basis who are supporting what you're doing because they see it affecting something not only on a national basis, on a global basis?
Yes, and that's true. It is true. We, you know, that term, it takes a village. Well, you know, it's outside of our community too. But Educate Texas just partner up with philanthropists, people that understand, even within their own organizations, that they want to do good in an educational community. But they found out very soon by us bringing them in that while all of these different philanthropy organizations wanted to invest in education, they were investing in pockets. What we did is brought them together and said, what if we have a mission? What if we have a vision of how we can invest in the communities you're already touching anyway, but let's go deep instead of broad. We've got work and we've got partnerships with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the Michael and Susan Dell Foundation, Greater Texas Foundation, wonderful Texas foundation here in Texas. We have the Meadows Foundation in Dallas, the Houston Endowment in Houston, Texas Instruments, there's just an abundance of opportunity for us through these partnerships. Now, that's on the private side. On the public side, we have the Texas Education Agency, which is the governing, coordinating of all the Texas ISDs, school districts in Texas. The Texas Higher Ed Coordinating Board, which is the coordination of the higher institutions of higher ed, and the workforce in the state of Texas, which, remember, so these students are going to college, getting a degree, then what? What happens? Does that degree have value? Are they graduating with the degree that's going to get them a job, a career? And is that career in the area where I'm getting my degree in? So in essence, right now, that we're working with the workforce to do audits of what are the jobs and the employments in the various regions to make sure that, going back to that alignment, the alignment of the degree and the alignment of the career are hand in hand, so that when they graduate, they can go to work immediately to sustain a family and to have a good opportunity to do good in their community.
In a recent program, you can go to our index and see the interview that we did with the board member of BBVA Compass Bank. Now, BBVA Compass Bank is owned by a Spanish banking conglomerate. They have a major banking chain in Mexico, so they have their footprint not only in Mexico but in the state of Texas. Therefore, and they have put out a study that says there's going to be $1.6 trillion in economic activity in the border region in the next decade. We're going to talk about that particular future as this program and conversation continues. And welcome back to the program. We still have Alma Garcia from Educate Texas with us, and when we went to the break, we said we were going to ask her the question of how does the border region prepare for 1.7 trillion with a T dollars in economic activity along the border region because of the Borregos play in Eagle Ford, Mexico, 8 times bigger than our Eagle Ford shale, and also the energy sector of Mexico being opened up, and all the jobs are going to be created out of that. Unbelievable. STEM is going to be so important. So what do we do? Because they're talking about this in the next decade, so that means like next year, year after, we better have the kiddos and students ready and educated to go take these jobs. How do we prepare for that?
Well, to begin with, superintendents in the region, just like Dr. King, understand that in order for students to get a good paying job, they had to be well educated. Nowadays, a student can't even get a job if they don't have a high school degree, but there's a possibility for them to go to the next level if they have a college degree. So I think right now, to answer your questions, there's been a lot of research done by the superintendents here in the Rio Grande Valley, and what they're looking for is to making sure that they're aligning the curriculum that is being taught in the high schools or in the school districts to the jobs that are going to be opening up in the near future, and or all of those different opportunities through organizations and companies and businesses that are setting up here in the Rio Grande Valley. So due diligence is very important, research is very important, and then the other thing is that they are changing, they meaning the school districts are changing the way they're training the teachers. For instance, Ron, not too long ago, Dr. King was sharing with me that if a teacher is going to teach finance, they actually put the teachers at a bank, or they take them to a business so they can understand the makeup of that business. So that real life experience, they can take it back into the classroom and make that connection with their students. So now here's a teacher knowing content, but also learning through the experience of being in an organization, learning the trade. Now, fast forward, look at all of the occupations, careers that are going to be opening up through SpaceX, and you just mentioned some of the largest organizations that are coming in, not only in the United States, but internationally into Mexico. Dr. King, along with some of the other superintendents, are looking at training in the STEM area. STEM standing for science, technology, engineering, and math. And there's an actual curriculum right now that does have kind of the college standards tied into it to make sure that students are more savvy in those areas. Using technology, they're using STEM, they're using mathematics, and they're putting it together as part of the process in the classrooms. So, you know, right now, those organizations and businesses that we're talking about right now, they're going to go deep in the STEM areas. And right now, a lot of our investors are looking at what can they do to help prepare more students in those career pathways.
And your investors have been Bill and Melinda Gates, Dell Foundation, Metis Foundation, other foundations have contributed not only directly to our San Juan Alamo Independent School District, but through Educate Texas and other ways of means becoming partners with what's revolutionary and taking place transformationally here at PSA Independent School District. So how do you encourage them to continue to support you, to continue to invest in South Texas, in this region?
Well, you know, Ron, not too long ago, I attended a conference where I heard one of the senior program officers at the Gate Foundation saying, ladies and gentlemen, do you know that we are going to invest in school communities, but we are going to invest and we're going to go into our school communities, but we're going to go where the evidence takes us. And the evidence being the data, the evidence being the stories. So investors right now are saying, if we're going to invest time, effort, and any type of financial support, we want to make sure that these school communities are proving that they can do the work and that ultimately they're having very positive impact and positive results. So right now our investors are looking to make sure that if they're going to invest, that there are champions out there that are doing the hard work. And right now in San Juan Alamo, the evidence is there. They've got a very savvy way of collecting that data, putting the evidence together, and they're actually writing those stories. They're validating them through publications, investors coming in to do site visits, and universities and colleges coming together to learn.
And this interview that we are conducting, particularly at this point in time, and this conversation. And we'll be back with a wrap-up in just a moment. Welcome back to the wrap-up segment of our conversation with Alan Garcia of Educate Texas, who had collaborated with San Juan Alamo Independent School District and Dr. Daniel King for a large number of years now. How do you take it to the next level?
Well, let me tell you, first of all, we're collecting the data. We've already done the due diligence and research. We're collecting the data. So the next steps that what we want to do, of course, is to actually now become kind of the campaign managers of San Juan Alamo. We want to take this campaign of college access and college for all and take it on the road. And when I mean take it on the road, to our legislators, we want to take it to our people of authority, other superintendents, college presidents, university presidents, people that will understand that this process is a long road, but it can be achievable because we've got the evidence. We also want to make sure that the work has not finished. There is so much to be done. There's so much opportunity, but we still need, you know, a lot of partners to come to the table together in different ways. Of course, financially is an excellent way, but also to share experience and knowledge so that we can take it to the next level. We're trying to do something called a collective impact. We're trying to collectively bring people to the table so that we can have a bigger impact in all of the work that we're doing. Dr. King right now is taking the lead in bringing a collective impact effort. He's the co-chair of RGV Collective Impact by the name of Focus, RGV Focus. And what he does is he's kind of the person that is leading the initiative along with Educate Texas in sharing the best practices and the proven practices. In that way, the next steps will be to now start sharing that with other people, investors, school district personnel, and just anybody that really wants to know how to take what Dr. King and the San Juan Independent School District, Alamo Independent School District has done to try to make sure that more school communities have an opportunity for making sure that all of their students are college ready, they are college connected, and college complete.
Our San Juan Alamo Independent School District 8 years ago was twice the state level average in dropouts not reaching their graduation day in high school. Now it's 1/2 of the state average in Texas.
Correct.
In the same category. Amazing, amazing. And you're telling us it can be taken to the next level, and we believe you as long as Dr. Daniel King is driving the train. Thank you for joining us here on this conversation. Till next time, adios.